We're clearly in a presidential year. And again, going back to this table over there, Washington seems to be concerned about 51%. I would say that's not quite accurate. The biggest race is obviously the presidential race. President Obama needs to get every state that John Kerry won when he ran against George W. Bush. And then he needs to add 4 or 5 more. Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, some combination of Arizona, Colorado, and Iowa. Now he knows he's going to get New York. He knows he's going to get California. He'll spend no resources there. That battle is Iowa. That battle is Ohio. And so it's not really 51 of the entire nation. It's 50 plus 1 in Arizona or Colorado. He knows he's not going to win this state. This state understands his hostility to oil and gas. We're going to vote for the guy that supports our jobs. He doesn't support our jobs. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But the presidential campaign will be fought in about 8 states. Now, that's the politics of it. That said, there's something we can do. There is prosperity returning to Ohio and Pennsylvania, which has not been there for quite some time. And it's all because of natural gas. In Pennsylvania and Ohio, the Marcellus Shale, which is the largest natural gas mine that they've had, is bringing somebody named Boudreaux and somebody named Thibodaux to Pennsylvania to show somebody with a German last name how to drill for oil and gas. And so to support this, they are now building a steel plant in Ohio where they've not built a steel plant for 20 years. And they're manufacturing that steel to construct pipes to put beneath the ground to mine that oil and gas. And there's blue-collar prosperity returning to states which have not seen it for some time. So if you will, what may help people understand, as we do here, that this president is not, and I'm speaking as a Republican now, and some of you will support the president, so I apologize if I offend you. But some of the things that we are now seeing here, they are now understanding there. The ability to developing our own natural resources as an antidote to our economy. Instead of having to put somebody on Medicaid, you give them a good job and good benefits, and all of a sudden, not only do they have money in their pocket, they have a good insurance policy with extra money to pay tuition for their child to go to school. So that's a message that we really are going to learn out of Louisiana, where we teach the rest of the country the prosperity that can come from energy. Or from developing our own resources. That said, I thank y'all for hosting me. I was told by Bonnie that I got a few minutes to talk, to take some questions, and so I'll leave about 10 for you. And Libby, if you got to leave, I won't be offended. I was in Rotary up in Baton Rouge, and I know, man, some people are watching their watch because they have something to do. I won't be offended. I'm a former Rotarian. I just got out because I couldn't afford the dues, and I kept on missing meetings when I was in Washington. That said, my job is to represent. And I'm not going to be able to represent you unless I actually have a chance to listen to you. As many of you know, there's been redistricting. So the 6th Congressional District, which has been centered around the Baton Rouge area, will come down to northern Lafourche and Terrebonne. Steve Scalise will come over and take the southern parts of these 2 parishes. And it all happens because we're losing a congressman. That's the regrettable thing. On the other hand, I consider it an incredible privilege to be down here. Incredible privilege. It's my opportunity, it's my responsibility to learn from you as much as possible. By the way, Tommy, we have spoken about our office opening if I'm so fortunate to be reelected in 2012, opening a district office down here, and we are. And so let me just make the announcement today that we'll be opening a district office in Thibodaux and have somebody in this area to kind of make sure that folks' concerns are addressed. That's just because we got to represent each other. You represent ideas to me taking those ideas in the committee up in Washington, D.C., and hopefully educating people from elsewhere in the country as to the wisdom of those ideas. So let me wrap up there and see if anybody has any questions or comments. Yes, sir.
The Mississippi River is a national resource. What can you do in Washington to help control the pollution that we experience, particularly here at the bottom of the river?
That is So for those of you who couldn't hear, Mississippi River National Resource, what can I do in Washington to prevent some of the pollution? Let's first say that a lot of the pollution that we speak of is actually nitrates and phosphorus from runoff from farms. Okay? So somebody in the Missouri River will farm the riparian zone, fertilizer runs off into the Missouri, and it comes all the way down here. If it gets into our streams, it causes an algae bloom. If it gets out into the Gulf of Mexico, it causes the dead zone. Okay? So partly we have to educate the farmers in our state and further north that when they use fertilizing practices that run off into the Mississippi, there is an environmental consequence down here at the mouth. Part of that is going to take us educating farmers, not just me in Washington, but you as a representative of a community affected in Iowa or Missouri to do that. Missouri, actually, Iowa's already figured it out. Iowa has shifted to no-till farming, so that way they don't lose their topsoil by erosion. So partly, some of the farmers are getting it, but there's more that have to. I will do my best in Washington to continue to talk about the issue as we just spoke. It also really benefits if your agricultural interest here speak farmer to someone in Illinois, so that the farmer in Illinois understands the consequences to our region because of that. And better yet, tell that farmer in Illinois, across the river in Iowa, they've done it differently. They use less water, lose less topsoil, and they use less fertilizer. They get a higher yield, and it benefits our entire nation. So it's part of what I can do, but it's kind of a shared responsibility, particularly among your farming community.